You find yourself time and time again getting into these relationships where you just keep getting let down. You have certain expectations and hope that people are going to act a certain way. They're going to do certain things. They're going to look out for you. And then for whatever reason, they're not able to do it. And you're the one who keeps getting burnt. It doesn't have to be this way. And today we're going to discuss some ideas that we can start to do in order to change that, to allow ourselves to become the person that we want and not have to rely on everybody else. The first thing we need to understand is that we need to start to learn about the people around us. And what I mean by that is that I think we should give people a shot. I really believe that we should trust people, especially in the beginning. But what we do have to also understand is that we have to be able to read the messages. If we have certain friends of ours who constantly say they're going to meet up with us and then back out at the end of the day, it's very likely that they're not going to be able to do it. And we don't have to put this label on them that they're somebody who can't commit, but for whatever reason, they're not able to get themselves together. And there's nothing wrong with that. And this is one of those things that happen either in romantic relationships or even just friendships. So many times people have certain expectations that they have of certain people and they're hoping they're going to change. And at the end of the day, they're just not going to. And that's something that they have to figure out. We can't make other people change. It's one of the things that I think about a lot when I'm coaching people is that I can't get somebody to take action. I can't get somebody to be able to move the needle to change their mindset. I can help guide them. I can help give them the tools. But at the end of the day, they're going to have to be the ones to be able to take that action. And if they're not getting the message, you don't have to be the result of that. The next thing we have to realize is that we have to start shifting our expectations. You see, for many people like myself, I used to be a massive people pleaser and I was constantly looking at other people. I was waiting for other people to make the move for me. I didn't care where we ever went out to eat. I didn't care what activities we were going to be doing over the weekends. I just wanted to be able to be in the crowd and just be this person who wasn't controversial, allowing myself to be that person around. And what was interesting is that I really had to understand this in order to be able to move forward. You see, I never had my own opinion. I was always waiting on somebody else. But what I realized is that that's not going to be an okay thing. And I really found that out when I started dating for marriage. You see, when I started dating and I was getting really serious, I understood that I started to date these people and the girls that I started dating were the ones who weren't really the healthiest ones. And I saw this pattern that was popping up and I was so curious by it because for some reason, subconsciously, I was always drawn to those people. And a lot of the times it's because they were needier, they needed me, and it just felt right when I was able to just say yes to them all the time. But I realized that that's not going to be a really healthy marriage. That's not going to be good for them. It's not going to be good for me. And I am going to need to be able to work on myself. And I worked on myself tremendously. And I'm so lucky that I found my wife that I have now. And sometimes I even look back and I'm like, I don't even know how I got so lucky just because I know the type of person I could have married and I don't even know where I would have ended up. So we have to recognize that sometimes we have to stop pointing the finger at other people when we keep getting let down, and we have to start looking in the mirror and pointing at ourselves to say, hey, I got to do something about it. I have to be the one to change. The third thing we need to understand is that we can't be affected by other people's opinions on us. You see, for so many of us, we get so affected, we get so down, and we get so just all over the place when other people think or say something to us that we don't like. We feel like they're attacking us, our self-esteem, and it just demoralizes us. And what we have to realize is that we can allow them to affect us. And a really cool tip and trick that we can start to use to allow ourselves not to get that way is that we have to start to separate the response to the action. You see, when somebody does or says something to us, we respond right away to this feeling of I'm being attacked. They are attacking me, the essence, the person, the Bennett in me. But what we have to realize is that's not true, and give ourselves a few moments to separate that and then allow that feeling to come in. And then over time, if we just constantly work on separating those moments more and more and more, I'm telling you, you're going to be able to stop being affected by it. For so many of us, we get affected because you think this person's opinion is so high, but when you look at it upon yourself, you have the ability to really stretch it out and not get yourself so connected. Another really cool technique that you can start to do, and this is something that I recently started doing, is that there was this person who every time I got into the phone or saw a text message from them, I would get so nervous and so anxious. I felt like they were always yelling at me and I never really wanted to see their name pop up on my screen. But what I realized is that I got to really work on this. I have to try to do something different because this is not going to be okay. This person is going to be in my life for a little bit and I knew I needed to be able to deal with it. And I started to think about a different position, a different scenario in my life where there are other people that maybe have opinions about me, but I really don't. And I really took it to my basketball league that I played in. You see, when I play in my basketball league, there are certain players who are better than me that I look up to, and there are certain players who are not as good as me. And what happens a lot of times is that there are certain players who are not as good as me, but they think they're better than me. And when they think they're better than me, but they're not as good as me, and I know they're not as good as me, I don't really think anything of it, even if they think they're better than me. And what was interesting is that for some reason, when I'm on the basketball court, I'm not affected by their opinion. So I started to play this emotional match with this person. What was interesting, I started to tell myself that this person right now thinks they're better than me, or I'm thinking they think they're better than me, and therefore I feel bad about myself. But guess what? They're just one of those players who are not as good as me, but also think that they are better than me. So I'm going to have this different relationship to it. And once I was able to make that switch, immediately I started to just feel more calm. It was such a powerful technique that I was able to use. It was so helpful when it came to this idea of me feeling bad about myself because somebody else had an opinion about me that I didn't necessarily like. And that takes me to my next point. People are allowed to have opinions. Your favorite color can be green and theirs can be blue, and that's okay. We have to realize that we're all different people, and that's okay. And all we can do is really just be able to do what it is that we need to be doing. If there are certain people out there who have this desire to tell us what it is their opinion is, so that's really their own issues, their own insecurities that they have to be able to build up. That doesn't mean it has to be affected on us. Recognize that could be tremendous when it comes to thinking about other people's opinion. When it comes to ours, we could just frame it as they having one favorite color and we having a different favorite color. And the final tip I want to share with you is that we have to start to find the right people around us. You see, for so many people, they grow up in a certain situation, they grow up in a certain community or a group of friends, and they get stuck in that group of friends for maybe the rest of their lives. But maybe that group of friends isn't really the greatest for them. Maybe that group of people who they feel like is their support isn't really so supportive. And what we have to understand, what we have to realize is that we shouldn't be cutting these people off, but we need to find people who are like-minded to us. We have to find people who are going to be the ones who are going to help support us, people who are more optimistic, people who have the similar goals to us. And by doing that, we're going to be able to stay on our proper trajectory in order to hit all the goals that we want to be hitting. For so many of us, we want to be able to do more, and yet for some reason, we can't get ourselves to do it. And a lot of times it's because of the people who are surrounding us. Recognizing this could be a tremendous benefit for you. And I'm telling you, if you start to change the people around you, then you're going to be able to move things so much more forward. Especially nowadays where there's so many communities online where you can really find people like-minded. I'm telling you, it could be a game changer when it comes to your own success and your own growth. That being said, if you find yourself being somebody who's not able to commit, make sure to take a look at this next video where we talked about the basics of commitment and what you need to do about it.